Hello and welcome to another episode of Mia and Me. My guest once again is Honorable Branko Terzic. Welcome.
Hello, Mia. Glad to be back.
The topic today is the US Postal Service. The US Postal Service is the US government agency charged with delivering our mail and packages. In that regard, the Postal Service has a monopoly on first class mail and competes for package delivery with private carriers such as UPS, FedEx, and others. The Postal Service, as a monopoly in first class mail, shares that characteristics with other commonly recognized monopolies called public utilities or public service companies. Because of that commonality, I've invited Mr. Branko Terzic to comment on the Postal Service. Mr. Terzic oversaw companies which were regulated as monopolies at the state and federal level. The Postal Service has been in the news quite a bit the past week and will be subject of congressional hearings as well. Some members of the Senate and House are also calling for the resignation of the current head of the Postal Service. What is the issue? And is President Trump to blame?
The issue has to do right now with the politics of the upcoming election. Because of the pandemic virus, there's more and more talk that people would be mailing in their ballots, and that increase in mail has caused issues with can the Postal Service handle the mail? Has the new Postmaster General done anything to make it difficult for the mail to get there? Is the Trump administration trying to discourage mail-in ballots or somehow frustrate the ability of people to mail by tampering with the Postal Service? All of these are serious accusations. You should be reminded that the new Postmaster General, the 75th, only took office in June. So he really hasn't been around that long, and the first thing he was hit with was the pandemic. So it's going to be a little hard to imagine that many major changes have occurred over at the Postal Service, but that's being investigated by the Congress.
What is bad about the post office design and how did it come about?
The Postal Service was reorganized by Congress in 2006, and that reorganization had a lot of pieces in it that, looking back, have caused problems. One of the pieces that it has in it was the requirement that the current post office pre-fund health care for people that will retire in the future. This is not something that is done in the rest of the economy or in other parts of the government. It's a huge burden. It's billions of dollars a year on the Postal Service. Secondly, the Postal Service has been structured with two separate sets of managements or two separate sets of presidential appointees. At one level, the Board of Governors of the Post Office is nominated by the President, confirmed by the Senate. There are 9 appointed governors, only 5 of whom can be from the president's party. The other 4 would be from the minority party, in this case, the Democrats. And President Trump has appointed these individuals. They've been confirmed by the Senate. That group of federal officials, they are sworn to uphold the Constitution. They are sworn to operate the post office for the public good. It's a not-profit service. They're the ones who, in June, picked the new Postmaster General, not the president. They're the ones that voted and picked him. And that would be fine, except there's another layer of government on top of them, a separate Postal Regulatory Commission, used to be called the Postal Rate Setting Commission. And that is another group of 5 presidential appointees with 6-year terms, who are also nominated by the president, confirmed by the Senate, and their job is to regulate the other presidential appointees. So it's the only place in government where that happens. The Internal Revenue Service doesn't have a separate regulatory agency. The National Park Service doesn't have a separate regulatory agency. National Health Service doesn't have one. Only in this case do we have this very clumsy and awkward two-tier regulatory system, a system that was designed for for-profit utilities, the kind that I regulated as a commissioner on the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission and as a state regulator on the Wisconsin Public Service Commission. There, you have the government regulator making sure that the privately owned monopoly doesn't make outrageous profits, that it provides adequate service, et cetera. With a government-owned utility, you're not entity, you're not worried about excessive profits. They would all go to the government anyway and maybe help reduce our taxes. So the issue is totally different, and I don't see it as in the long run as a viable system.
Which leads me to my next question. Is that system of one federal government agency regulating another working well?
No, apparently it's not. The upshot, of course, is we had a major case where the Postal Service went to the regulatory service, the regulatory agency, to apply for a rate increase. The increase was approved, but the order was so badly written that it was overturned by a court. And so that's a demonstration of, I think, the weakness of the system and the weakness of the current regulatory environment. It doesn't need to be that way. One can foresee in the future, if you had a privatized system, that would be perfect. You'd need a federal regulator. But in a system where you have a government agency with government appointed officials, the Senate and House can look after that.
Right. So the 2006 Postal Accountability and Enhancement Act was supposed to streamline regulation of the Postal Service. Did it accomplish its goal?
No, I don't think it did. We can see that now with the problems that the Postal Service is having. The act arranged this cumbersome regulatory system. It forced this prepayment system on the regulator, on the Postal Service. I think demonstrably it needs to be adjusted. That's not the case at all. The other question came up with lock boxes, that the Postal Service was removing postal boxes from certain locations, and Postal Service always moves boxes from areas of low service to areas of high service. The other charge was that some of the boxes were locked at night. Well, the Postal Service has always locked boxes at night where you had high theft.
Which makes sense.
And so they'd unlock them in the morning, and during the day, people could put their mail in, and then in the evening they lock them up so people can't steal the mail that's in them. So that's always happened. And
on Saturday, Pelosi called the House back to DC from their recess to vote on a post office bill. It passed with every Democrat voting for it, so did 26 other Republicans. 150 Republicans voted against it. What the bill essentially does is that it funds post office with additional $25 billion. And with that, it actually is going to treat the election mail as first-class mail. The next step for the bill is going to be Senate, and if it doesn't pass the Senate, then it's not going to any further. What do you think about Pelosi going after this little bill when we've got a lot of other issues going on with post office besides just financing? It sounds like we've got other changes we need to make first.
yes, now a year ago, the Postal Service said they needed $25 billion. In the meantime, they've gotten a $10 billion in loans, and they have an additional some billions of dollars from this increase in the packages that they've carried. So the crisis they were in a year ago has gone away because they've got tens of billions of dollars since then. So the 25 billion is not as necessary today as it was a year ago because of the loan and the other factors. I'm fine with Congress. I'm hoping the Senate will open up the package and look beyond the 25 billion. Change the pre-funding where maybe those retirees can go on Medicare, Medicaid, as many other retirees are on, rather than having it pre-funded, or the Congress can just make up for the fund and stop moving forward. There are all kinds of things. They could eliminate the second regulatory agency, which is unnecessary, unless you privatize, in which course it becomes vitally necessary. I should mention that Britain, Japan, Germany have all privatized their postal services. It can be done. Whether it should be done, I don't at this point have an opinion. If it's done or not, I would still protect the postal workers, the mail carriers. They are an essential part of our society.
But with my mailman, it's a much different relationship, and they are such an important part of our society. And everyone I've talked to so far really feels emotionally attached to USPS. So I really do hope that all the changes that happen are going to be positive, not just for the post office, but also for our communities.
Well, I agree with you. I think the congressmen and senators should look at these things objectively. There's a lot of facts out there. Collect all the facts. Make sure you understand what's really happening out on the system. If they stick to that, if they stick to the more scientific way of gathering the data, making the analysis, I think we'll all be better off. We have to put the politics aside, and remember, we're talking about an important national public service and the future of it. And we need cool heads, sharp minds, and goodwill among all the participants.
Thank you so much for stopping by once again, for your wonderful information. And I look forward to many, many more letters coming from you.
Thank you, Mia. I'm delighted to be with you once again.
Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for watching. See you all soon.